Growing up on a military base and being a military brat gives you an unfair advantage that most people don't even understand if they didn't grow up on the military base. We had the youth center, we had the run-in chef, we had movies for $1. We could ride our bikes anywhere we wanted to and not worry about anything. One of my buddies, Harry Hudley, who I was just talking with, he reminded me that if some kid went missing, it was like they would lock down the whole base. And, 2 minutes after they locked down the base, the third minute, they'd find the kid. We didn't have to worry about, transient people on the base, anything like that. And, but growing up there, the other advantage that we had is we had every culture that you could possibly imagine. We not only had the culture, but we had the belief system. We had all those things. And then you add sports into that, and it didn't matter what color you were, where your parents were from, your socioeconomic status, anything like that. Once we got on the field, if you could play, then you got the position. And we found, when I look back at it, there wasn't a ton of favoritism that way. It was almost that the dads that were coaches for us on the base were harder on their kids than they were on anybody else. And I could say that for Coach Barksdale. I could say that for my dad. I could say that for Coach Duffy. All these coaches, it was unreal to have the opportunity to be able to be raised on a military base. And I think one of the biggest things was the encouragement part. I just got a chance to speak with my friend Harry Hudley. I did a live, and we were talking about, the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day. And I hadn't talked to him in probably 25 years. And, he messaged him and his sister are sitting there, Dee Dee and Harry. And then I got on a FaceTime afterwards with them, just a personal one. And Harry was just encouraging me. Dee Dee was encouraging me. And it was like, here is these relationships that were built on a military base. I mean, this is back in the early to mid 80s, and they're still intact. I tell you, there's such an unfair advantage of growing up on a military base because the encouragement is so strong. I went on a walk yesterday with my wife, and this is where this whole encouragement, wormhole that I went down, because we were walking and she asked me a couple of questions and I answered the questions. Then she asked me more pointed questions. So she dug a little deeper. She listened to the answers and then she gave me encouragement. But it was specific encouragement based off the answers that I had. And what it helped me to realize is that I grew up with a pops who was the most encouraging guy that I ever been around. If you ever got to meet my pops, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He would encourage everybody. He could help you with your skill set, no matter what it was, even if he wasn't good at it. And he could make you better at what you were doing, even though he didn't do it himself. And he would do this through encouragement, but it was specific encouragement. And then he would tell me all the time, and I didn't realize, and I didn't connect these two until this morning when I spent my, a little bit of alone time. I was sitting out back and I realized that the quote that my pops would say is the one thing that people fail at the most and work at the least in life and in business is communication. And he said, so what I linked today is when that communication is encouragement, it draws the greatest out of people. And it helped me to solidify what my pops would always say. If you build the people and allow the people to build the business, there'll never be anything that you desire that won't come into fruition. You see, sometimes it's a quote, sometimes it's a question, but in most cases, it's always an encouraging word that will spark a fire in a person. And for any of you who need to hear this today is Proverbs 20. When I looked at it, it serves as a source of endless encouragement from the most reputable of places because it's been rooted and grounded in 3,000-year-old wisdom. My pops would say this: you never know where someone's from. You never know where they're going. You never know where you'll meet up with them again. So make a friend out of everyone. And Dee Dee and Harry, I want to thank you guys because you encouraged me today. You encouraged me at a different level. And in Proverbs 20, it gives us a source of endless encouragement, but I want to warn you, this encouragement isn't normal. So that's why you got to listen to the whole thing. So why don't we get this party started?
Nothing more on my mind. I got two shines, so every day I climb. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never know, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
An encouraging word, an encouraging word, an encouraging word. You never know where it's going to be able to come from. And this was a principle that my pops told me all the time growing up. And I tell you, a big shout out to Vandenberg Air Force Base. And if you grew up on a military base, shout out to you. If you're a military brat, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you didn't grow up on a military base, but have a friend who grew up on a military base, I can guarantee you that they have a light around them. They seem to have unfair advantages in times. They are able to connect with people on a different level, and they have relationships that are like unbelievable. I mean, I just had an experience with Dee Dee and Harry Hudley, and I swear I haven't talked to Harry since high school. I mean, this is when I said 25 years, probably been even longer that I've got a chance to be able to talk with him, but it was like no time had passed at all. And to be able to see him, he has 24 years as a sheriff in Santa Barbara, and upstanding man in the community, giving back to the community, spending time with the youth, being a youth leader. He said a quasi, youth pastor, but he's helping kids and just delivering the word. But not only kids, he's got a text strain with his buddies where he's lifting them up, giving them encouragement, and he's doing the right work for the right reasons, and the right things are happening. And I just want to tell you, Harry, how much you encouraged me today. Your words encouraged me. We started talking. I asked him a couple questions about him, and he was like, you've asked me enough questions about me. What about you? What can we pray for you? And then I asked him another question. He said, well, you bounced back to me, but I need to know about you. And it was just so encouraging to be able to see this. And, I tell you, what we fail at the most, we work at the least in life and in business is communication. And when that communication is encouragement, it truly, truly lights people on fire. And this is the principles that my pops taught me, but I resisted for so long, for so many years. And so, Harry, I want to tell you, man, I love you. And Dee Dee, thank you so much for, being such an incredible supporter of not only the social part of it, but the podcast and everything like that. And we're going to have Harry on soon. Harry Hudley, unbelievable human. And I can't wait to sit down with you and just, and chop it up and talk about, a lot of it will be talking about Vandenberg Air Force Base and being a military brat and how much of unfair advantage that we had. Because I tell you, if you did, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You grew up with different cultures of people, different races, different belief systems, and everyone was everyone. And when you get out in like civilian life, you gravitate towards a neighborhood generally that people look like you, think like you. But I tell you, like, it's such an unfair advantage to grow up in a military family. So big shout out to all my military brats out there. I love you guys. Youth Center for Life, the Run-In Chef. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Playing, basketball at the base gym, the annex, the whole nine. It was an unbelievable time. And the shopette, the bowling alley. I tell you, it was a charmed childhood. We didn't know all the things that we didn't have. We were just focused in on the things that we did. And so youth sports was completely different too. I tell you, completely different. And some ballers came out of Lompoc and especially Vandenberg. So just want to give a huge shout out there. Proverbs 20 it's a rundown. So it serves as a source of endless encouragement from the most reputable places. Watch that. Like sometimes we get encouraged, but it's not from a reputable source. So check the source before you accept the encouragement, right? And so that's to preface it, but also to understand that in Proverbs 20, It serves as a source of endless encouragement, although it's not normal encouragement. And this is where we want to go. So when you need to be encouraged, I was very fortunate because I had my pops every single day telling me I was the greatest, telling me to act according to that greatness. I had my mom telling me that I was awesome, that I was beautiful, that I could do anything that I put my mind to. I had friends around me that were constantly lifting me up, and I've got the same friends since I was in 4th grade, and those are from Vandenberg Air Force Base. That's the advantage of being a military brat. I tell you, and we still get together to these days, and I had all this encouragement, but I could tell you this, a lot of times I took it for granted. And yesterday, when I was on my dog walk with my wife, I was going through a couple things. She was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm auditing kind of my life. I'm 50, so I'm thinking about things and what works, what doesn't, add more to the things that work, take away the things that don't work." And I'm going through this. And then she just asked me a couple questions. Then she specifically encouraged me. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was like a weight got lifted off me. That encouragement lit a fire. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I haven't had my pops' encouragement in 4 years because he passed away coming up on 4 years ago. And I realized that there was a little bit of a void. And so I want to be an encouragement to every one of you. I want you to be encouraged exactly where you're at, but I also want you to be filled up. And then I want you to go and encourage someone today. Like today, I challenge every one of you to do it. So here's the encouragement from Proverbs 20. Number 1 is keep a sober mind. Keep a sober mind, meaning that not just the alcohol part of it, but in your personal, your professional, your spiritual, and your financial life, keep a sober mind. That means take time, add wisdom. Wisdom is the right use of knowledge. And when we do that, the beginning of all wisdom is the fear of God, which is the respect of God. So that means you just spend time with him, see his words, see his actions. And when they're in line, guess what happens? Then you respect him. And when you respect him, then he'll give you wisdom, which is the right use of knowledge. And when we do that, it'll keep a sober mind. It'll keep that sober mind when you walk into a place that you don't get too high, you don't get too low, you understand and you have insight in it. And you have discretion and discernment and discipline and strength. And those all come and stem from wisdom. So keep a sober mind. In verse 2, study the game film and know their plays better than they do. And I said this earlier, but last week we played against our rival. When I say that, my son did. They played against their rival. And the whole week, I thought it was strange, but the whole week the coaches were emphasizing the other people's plays. And they had the other people's plays. They had watched the film. They had the kids watch the film. They ran through the plays. And so by the time we got to the game, all of our kids on defense could detect every single play that they ran. On offense, they could detect the defense. They studied the game film and they knew their plays better than their own. And these kids were bamboozled. And it was 24-0. And this is a good team, a really, really good team. But the reason why is because they studied the game film and they knew their plays better than they did. So just be conscious of that. Just watch and study and look at the game film. Study yourself. I study game film with this. I watch the podcast and sometimes I'm like, man, you are awful today. You had no energy, whatever it is. Now, do I erase it? No, because I want you to see me fail. I want you to see something with low energy. I want you to see something that's bad. And then, you know what we'll do? We'll get better. And if you continually get better, people want to grow with you. In verses 3-5 is stay calm, exercise patience, do the work, study people through the lens of wisdom, right? So stay calm, exercise patience, do the work. You cannot expect the result if you do not do the work. And then study people through the lens of wisdom. And wisdom tells you, which is the right use of knowledge, wisdom tells us to understand the full story. And so when my pops talked about communication and that communication being encouraging, you can only encourage someone truly when you know where they're at. So you have to listen, you have to watch, and you have to be sensitive to where they're at. And then you could speak their language. You see, growing up on a military base, we learned to speak so many different languages because we were all from so many different walks of life, and we were forced into this one melting pot, which was amazing. So I got to learn about Korean culture, Japanese culture, Black culture, Mexican culture, all in one, Italian culture, all just mashed up together. And when you understand somebody's language, then you can encourage them specifically in that way. And so study people through the lens of wisdom, and wisdom is filled with love. It's filled with faithfulness. It's filled with grace. And when we do that, and then we study people through that, as opposed to studying them from a distance or through judgment, it changes the game. See, I was very fortunate because I was forced into that. Like, that's just was our life. Growing up on a military base, that was our life. That's what we did. It was incredible. And I tell you, shout out to every one of you guys who was from a military family, a military brat. I love you guys, and we have an unfair advantage. In verse 6 and 11, talk is cheap, action is expensive. I heard this all the time, big hat, no cattle. That's what one of my friends from Texas said. We've all been around that person that's talking loud and ain't saying nothing. But action is expensive. It costs to be able to add action to those words. And Harry, I want to tell you, like, seeing you as a father, as a brother, as a sheriff, as a husband, just that quick snippet, seeing you, it encouraged me, man. And I want to tell you how much it means. And that is just incredible. I cannot wait to sit down with you on the podcast. In verse 12, this is where the encouragement comes through this. Do the right thing. It benefits everyone. When you do the right thing, it benefits everyone. And that's in verse 7, 8, 9, 10, and 27. In verse 12, watching and listening are a gift. In verse 13, right? Well, let's go back to watching and listening, because the only way into your heart is through your eyes, through your ears, and through your, what you become aware of through your senses. So that's a gift. It's a gift. So honor that gift. And what my pops would always tell me is that when you honor a gift, then it expands, it multiplies. In verse 13, diligence has unmeasured rewards. When you do right work, how do we know what's right? Well, the only way that we'll know what's right is when we're in communication with the one who created us in the first place, because he will have us to do the right thing at the right time for the right reasons. And sometimes we get into a ritual part of it, or a religious standpoint of like, oh, I have to do this. No. What God is saying is like, I need you to be focused on me. I got down one time. I called my pop and I was like, Pop, I'm a little bit down. He said, why? And I said, well, I haven't been in church in like 6 weeks. And he said, well, what you been doing? I said, I've been walking, riding my bike, going to the beach, doing whatever. He said, is God big enough to be with you on the bike ride? I said, yes. Is he big enough to be with you on the walk? Yes. Is he big enough to be with you at the beach? Yes. He said, so that was your church. And what it did is it freed me, because what it did is it encouraged me to understand that I don't have to be in a specific place for God to be there. He's with me always. Now, this isn't to say that you don't ever need to go to school because you could just have your education, but I got so into the ritual part of it that I was trying to place God in a box and say, okay, you can only meet me here. And what my pops was saying is, now he can meet you everywhere. He's with you all the time. And that's how we'll know how to do the right thing at the right reason, for the right reasons, is because he will direct it. But the only way that can happen is if we spend time with him, and that will give us diligence, and that diligence has unmeasured rewards. Want to encourage you in this, in Proverbs 14 through 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 23, and 26, is do good business. Doing good business means that whatever you get paid, give them 3 to 4 times the amount of value. That will build the business. That will get you the position. If you own a business, that's a simple way of being able to do business, is just give them 3 to 4 times the amount that you charge for it, and your business will grow. I guarantee it. Do good business, speak life. That means use someone's name and what they did specifically. Harry, you've inspired me tremendously just by your words. And then the text afterwards that by the time you were hitting send, you said that you were praying for me and lifting my family up. It's amazing. Speaking life. Stay out of debt, personally, professionally, spiritually, financially. Seek wise counsel, and then honor your parents. No matter how they treated you, honor your parents as you go along. It is one of the only commandments that comes with the only commandment that comes with the promise. In verse 21, don't be in a rush for the reward. This is not speaking to you, it's speaking to me. This is where I get in a lot of trouble, because I'm always constantly looking for the reward. I'll do the work, I look for the reward. What God is saying is, like, you plant oak seeds, you ain't gonna get an oak tree that you could climb tomorrow. But keep planting seeds. And don't be in a rush for the reward. And the reward generally won't come the way that you think it's going to come. It'll come the way that he wants it to come in his timing with his plan, which is going to be challenging at times. In verse 22, God will handle it. No matter what you're going through. Harry told me about a couple things that he's going through and that he's working through right now. And the position is going to come, but God will handle it. Not you. You're not going to make it come into fruition. Every time that I tried to force something in my life, then I back off of it. And this happens with every single person I talk with. They're like, you know what? I was working so hard. And then I backed off and then all my business came to me. The reason why is because when you chase something, it runs. People say, I'm chasing down my dream. Well, most likely it's running. But when you accept it, it comes to you. This is like my dog Ziggy. My dog Ziggy, every time that I run after him, he runs away. But then when I sit back and I say, treat, treat, that boy comes running like nobody's business. Allow it to come to you. God will handle it. In verse 24, understand the source and then let it flow. Don't let it flow before you understand the source. Can you imagine? Like, I remember one of my buddies, we got a RV. I got there a day later, but this was one of the funniest stories. They had the RV and they were camping and they had to let the drain out the sewage out of the RV. And my buddy Dave goes to hook it up, and there's a lever that opens it up. Well, he went to hook it up and it wasn't all the way hooked up. And so they started to flow and it started to go everywhere, all the doo-doo and everything like that. And he grabbed a hold of the thing and he's having to hold it in place, but it's spurting out and it's getting all over him, but he can't let it go because then it'll go everywhere. And he's having to hold it. Before you let it flow, understand the source. Understand what it is that you're letting flow. People always talk about this, like, you just got to go with the flow. You don't got to go with the flow before you know what the source is. If you know the source is amazing, you know the source is love, you know the source is faithfulness, you know the source is wisdom, then let it flow. But if it's not, don't let it flow. Understand the source and then let it flow after that. In verse 25, seek wisdom before you act. This I tell you, that's probably one of the biggest encouragements that you could ever have. Love and faithfulness are undefeated. When you add love to faithfulness, those two, the combination, are undefeated. That's in verse 28. In verse 29, wisdom is the ultimate strength. If you want to be strong, like I saw Harry Hudley today, the guy is like the Hulk. But I tell you, his strength, although it's strong, pales in comparison to wisdom. And when we add wisdom, it's the ultimate strength in every area, because wisdom is the right use of knowledge. And wisdom comes from the fear of God or the respect of God, and which is interchangeable, fear and respect. So when we respect God, that means we spend time with him, see his words, his actions, they're in line. When they're in line, then he gives us wisdom, because that's the beginning of wisdom. That wisdom will bring knowledge. That knowledge will bring understanding. Understanding will bring insight. Insight will bring discretion. Discretion will bring discernment. Discernment will bring discipline. And discipline will bring strength into our life, which will lead us right back to the fear or respect of God. And we'll keep that wisdom cycle moving. As we finish today is in verse 30, challenges will strengthen. When you go through challenges with people, I grew up on a military base. As I said, I'm a military brat. The teams that we had, the football that we played, when we played football and we went through challenges, it strengthened our bond together. When we went through a game that there was a challenge in the game, we came together. Those challenges will strengthen you. When we played at Crestview, dunk ball, playing basketball on 7.5, 8-foot rims and dunking on each other and all that stuff. When you were with a team and you went through a little bit of a challenge, you were down 2, and then you came back and you won, that strengthened the bond. The challenges that we go through as kids with our friends strengthens the bond of the friendship. The challenges you go through in your marriage right now will strengthen the bonds as you move through. The challenges you're dealing with in your work right now are going to create strength, and that's where we want to encourage you. You see, wisdom is the ultimate encouragement. If you look at what I just listed out and you go back and you listen to this, that's the ultimate encouragement. But what I love about God is that he not only is faithful to his word and that he's going to encourage you, but also he always wraps every single thing in love. And so as I sat down, wisdom is the ultimate encouragement, but never underestimate the power of a kind word. Kindness means to contribute. And when you contribute to someone, your words of encouragement, never underestimate that little tiny bit. Yes, we can set up all the wisdom that we go through, and that can encourage us and lift us up, and it can give us the strength. But I tell you, never underestimate the power of an encouraging word, a kind word to somebody. Harry Hudley, I wasn't even going to record a podcast this morning, but I was so on fire because of your encouraging words, and I want to thank you so much. I can't wait for you to be on the podcast. I want to thank every single one of you guys for tuning in. If you're not coming to the Vibe Room, you're missing out. It's going to be amazing, November 5th. Pick up the Vibe Within. It makes your journey a little simpler. That's the link in the bio is there. It's a workbook that'll take you through the corresponding proverb, corresponding day. Proverbs 20, as we finish up today, understand the power of encouragement. The power of encouragement. A few words from you could save someone's life today. So hopefully you have a phenomenal day. I want to encourage every single one of you on your day today. It's going to be a great Saturday. I'm going to have a great Saturday. You're going to have a great Saturday. My name is Kelly Cardenas, and I'm officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and soul. Achieving, cause we believing it's for certain. We put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting right before your eyes. So it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to